rolling then?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're live. All right, we'll go. Call this meeting to order.
I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I move.
Second.
Okay, a move and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Going on to the big thing, the Hamilton variance. Do commissioners, Anna, do you want to come up? I suspect maybe people have questions. Ben,
Many people.
did you have?
I didn't have any
Probably
questions.
see what they have.
Yeah, what's that?
Good guests.
Oh, our guest, I am sorry. Right. Do you guys want to say anything before Anna gets started?
I'm just concerned about the road from west from Kingdom Hall. And you've had big trucks running on there.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 weeks ago, the city came and put gravel in the potholes, which are now potholes again. Or going to be big potholes soon.
Okay.
You know, the road narrows past Kingdom Hall, and it's just, you know, it's a concern.
Okay.
It is. The road isn't very good.
No.
Okay, duly noted. It is, that the variance will make that a little closer, that porch will get you closer to the
Hey,
road.
Anton, how are you?
Apologies.
That's all right.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right. But, okay, very good. That's for both of you? Is that right? Okay. And you, sir?
All I can say is I'm glad that Anna is doing what she's doing, and she took out that eyesore at the end of the neighborhood.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you the traffic that homestead generated was less than desirable. So I
Okay.
thanked her several times for doing the whole neighborhood a favor by taking that whole mess out of there.
Okay.
Putting something livable and presentable in its place. That's my feelings about it. I live on 11th Avenue.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit down the road from there, but still, I see the traffic. And, granted, there is truck traffic.
Yeah.
There was truck traffic when they built all those other homes up above too. So
Sure.
it's just, it's the curse of construction, but hopefully when it's all said and done,
Mm-hmm.
the city can do a little something to rectify the situation. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Very good.
The crack house is gone.
There we go. All right. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Anna?
No, there was.
I don't have any questions, just that
Yeah.
5 feet.
Yeah, I mean,
No
I
issue with it.
I hear what you're saying, and I was out there and drove it and walked around, and yeah, I can see what you're saying, that it is going to be approaching or coming close to the road by that 5 feet. That's real. I did feel like, because we are talking about a porch, like somehow it feels a little less substantial. And I would take it that it was unintentional, the way that it kind of rolled out, ends up with that. Would that be a fair reflection?
yeah.
Yeah, like that was not the plan.
I didn't consider the porch.
Right. And I get
Was that your concern? May I ask him a question?
Well, let me say that the road was the way it is. We've lived there 4 years, and it was bad when we moved in. It hasn't been made worse necessarily by
I
the
see.
truck traffic.
Yeah.
The pavement doesn't extend the full width of the road.
Okay.
So you got gravel on both sides,
Gotcha.
and it's not, and there are holes in it, so it's, I
The
don't
road
think it
is
was-
bad.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know what it was like before we moved in.
I think their concern is the road. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Worse.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it isn't-
okay.
Just adding more people to it is going to be,
Well, we're gonna have to ask the city to do some of that.
Well, that is a different conversation.
Careful what you wish for.
Right, well, there's that. There are
Yeah,
assessments.
okay, never mind.
Yeah, just saying, who's going to pay for that? But, Do you have anything more you wanted to add? I mean, it was pretty comprehensive what I saw here. Is there anything more you wanted to throw in
No,
before
I'm
we
sorry I
vote?
didn't have the survey. Why my surveyor has not provided the survey, it's been done for a while. I'm sorry about that. It would have been helpful, because then things could have been a little more scale. One house is a little under 4 feet from where I need to be, as far as setback. And the other one is almost 5.
Okay.
I just remeasured again today, and,
Okay.
I guess I have nothing else to say.
Great.
Motion to approve the Hamilton variance
All
request.
right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, great. Thank you. Motion and second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. If I can get through it, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
Thank you very
no,
much for your
thank
support.
you.
No, we very much appreciate
Thank
your
you.
work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I've seen you before. I've never started. Yeah. It's the only place I go. That
All right,
Parking.
parking,
Parking.
the big fun. Well, I presume you guys have read this over and we've talked about this stuff before, so it's not big news. I think the intention of tonight is to focus in on things that we would like to add or change to this rule. I think right off, the first thing that I would say is that I think enforcement, as we've said many times, is really where our issues lie. And that's another conversation that we can have at a different time. But assuming we had enforcement, I think I like most of what we have here. I do think, I think Anton, it was you that pointed out the First Avenue, or Second, was it Second? First Avenue right over here is not included in the downtown, is that right?
I don't know if you did or not, but
I thought you were talking about somebody parking there and camping out, wasn't that, didn't you say?
Well, I think that was just general.
Oh, okay.
There was a truck there for the first half of the summer, and I think that was an issue,
Yeah,
but I don't think that was
Yeah.
brought up.
okay. Well,
it certainly helped us realize that block is kind of left off of everybody's list, and
Okay.
it belongs
Right.
somewhere.
Because there's special call-outs for below Highway 61 on Broadway, First Avenue West, First Avenue, or Second Avenue West.
Yeah.
But nothing for First Avenue
East.
East.
Not First Avenue East.
right.
So there are other streets below Highway 61 that are not called out, but not, that are connected to the downtown area like this one is. So
Mhm.
I
Can-
think it's just an oversight that it wasn't included, and it probably was meant to be downtown.
Yeah.
I'd certainly consider it the same as the rest of the downtown
Mhm.
block.
Yeah. Does it have to be called out like that? Could we not just say something like below 61, between, or
I don't think
is there a reason to call
terrible
it?
way, I mean, you can see in the ordinance, if you look, that
Mhm.
the two places we pointed it out actually do it differently, right? One of them is below 61 between such and such and that. The list is a little more clear, I think.
Okay.
And it's not so long that it's
No.
difficult to deal with. So the other streets that are below 61 are Second Street, as it's heading down to the sewer plant, there's a few blocks of that.
Yeah.
Second Avenue East, which actually does exist as you go down between the hotels to.
Okay.
And those are kind of also connected, but I think not considered part of downtown, so
Yeah.
it's helpful to, as long as the list is as short as this, I think it's helpful to list
Okay.
the specific streets and blocks.
I guess for my piece, that was one thing I'd like to see added, is just add in those streets that we obviously, or that generally are considered part of downtown. Have those included in that.
Is that the only example that you can think of then, that First Avenue East that?
Well, just when I
isn't
was
on this
reading it over, I
list?
was like
Yeah.
thinking, well,
Okay.
what's not included? And I thought, just knowing that like that is not included, when I think most of us would look at that and say like, no, that's clearly downtown.
Sure.
Right. And when we talk about over by the hotels, maybe not so much.
So what does it mean to be downtown? We better just make sure we're clear about that too. In the summertime, there's time limits. It's 90-minute parking in the downtown zones. In the wintertime, it's no overnight parking. So between 2 AM and 7 AM, we say no parking downtown in the wintertime. And so that's the other reason why that block, in my mind, belongs on the downtown list, because it's plowed with the same methods that we use to do the rest of downtown. And so we want the streets to be cleared during that early morning period. That's when we're doing the work.
Mhm. Well, that was just my thought. Did you guys have other things that you thought should be in or out?
No, I didn't think of anything.
Highway 61 is the other that we specifically left off of really both sets of rules. It doesn't have 90-minute parking. It doesn't have no overnight parking. It doesn't have calendar parking. It doesn't have any parking rules. And there's at least one section of it where it's a problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I at least on that, I mean, that's kind of not really what we were thinking we were talking about, but, you know, I would agree that 61 does need some rules, and I think having it be able to be plowed thoroughly is, I would think most people would say, like, yeah, that would be great, you know, to have it fully, clearly plowed, and I'm sure the plow drivers from MnDOT would appreciate that.
Yeah.
too.
The trick about the calendar parking was a request that the county made because it helps them the way that they plow the streets that they do. The no overnight parking downtown is because it helps our operators plow the way that they do. MnDOT doesn't really follow those schedules. They're on Highway 61 a lot more often.
Sure.
So,
Right.
which method would you use?
Yeah.
Hard to say. I would probably say calendar parking would make more sense because you'd at least get a crack at the entire shoulder area one day of the week, rather than overnight parking, because MnDOT may or may not be doing snowplow operations between 2 and 7 a.m.
Mhm.
But maybe the no overnight parking just prevents the nuisance in the first place anyway.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that is tough. I mean, I do feel like doing the well, I suppose the calendar then, yeah, that's all day, right? It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. When does the switch happen again? I don't remember.
It's November.
Oh, I mean, when, like.
2 weeks.
I know, sorry,
Yeah.
not the date of it, like, when it goes into effect again.
It's
But,
the late afternoon
yeah.
where there's kind of the open period of free-for-all, but
I mean, so the things that I see as a issue with that is, obviously, there are businesses and places on both sides of the highway, so depending, I mean, maybe if you know you're going into something in the whatever, the Coldwell building, right, the one there, like maybe you would park on the south side of the highway and go to the corner and walk across, but I feel like, if you eliminated, because of calendar parking, you eliminated parking in front of the new art colony buildings and Hungry Hippie, there is no place. So now that's 8
Mhm.
spots that,
Yeah.
where do those go? Then you gotta go up onto First Avenue West. But if you're making that turn up and it happens to be, would that be the same side, right side,
Yeah.
right up the road? Now you actually have to go up and turn around and,
yeah.
there's only 3 spots there in front of the knife shop, or, you know what I mean? So it's
That's
like-
why we didn't do it in the first place.
Yeah,
And on Highway 61, because it seemed like there was be enough demand for parking and it wasn't really going to be a problem for snowplow the way that is used commercially, which is true on most of the length of it.
yeah.
So
I-
it seems like
So-
an ordinance solution just to deal with a real neighborhood problem is, I don't know, it's
Or-
unfortunate.
Yeah, unless you go to the no overnight, because none of those places are,
Yeah.
Deer Creek.
Maybe that
Fisher
is-
County
Yeah.
Yeah,
Library.
it seems like no overnight might be the,
Because then it
So-
could give a shot, right, at clearing those things up, potentially.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what legitimate purposes might there be to park on 61 at night anyway? Everything's,
think that's
everything's
that's my-
closed, nothing,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be too cold to be walking around during this winter anyway.
And all of the places that offer lodging have off-street.
Have parking themselves, yeah.
Well, but
I don't see a reason that someone would be parked there otherwise.
We were talking about, I think that's what the mayor was indicating, is the short stays is what she was thinking.
When we
of.
get to the rest of downtown, for sure, that was the question. And I think we've got a real conflict we've created in our own ordinance that's worth talking about.
Okay.
I think it's different than this Highway 61 question.
Well, the only reason it was coming up for me is because I was thinking like, well, I mean, if we were to follow our own rules and enforce them, maybe we don't have to worry about establishing that a smaller place has to have off-street parking. Maybe we just make it so that, well, we're enforcing the rules, and so there's, you know, you're not gonna be able to just park there forever. And I was thinking like, they might go and park on 61. You know, that might be their answer to
Yeah.
being down here. But then if there's no overnight there, then it's like, now they're pushed.
Well, it seems like that solves the one spot that we know there's an issue by eliminating overnight parking. Doing that, and I guess, yeah, it would be interesting to hear, well, your feedback, you know, but also anybody that has businesses along that corridor, what they
Sure.
think about that. I would imagine that they would, if we were to do some sort of parking restriction on the highway,
Mhm.
that they would prefer to see overnight, maybe a choice, no overnight versus the calendar.
Yeah, I would
I
agree.
think the calendar is problematic all over,
Yeah. Yeah.
personally, I think.
Yeah, people get it confused, but you know,
Yeah,
Right.
calendar
I
parking
think-
is just sort of,
Yeah.
calendar parking in general is just more of a nuisance than anything, in my experience.
Yeah.
Unless you're a plow driver.
unless you're the
Right.
plow driver. which
Unless
they're
you're the
trying
plow
to accommodate
driver.
that.
I understand its purpose, but it is
Yeah.
frustrating, especially since the majority of people that would be breaking that ordinance aren't locals.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're not looking up, oh, where can I park exactly when, if they're just driving through for the day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think for 61, that if we were to do a thing, I think the overnight is probably the smartest way to go. And
Yeah.
obviously, we get feedback if we go that route. See if people
What was
decide.
your point to the conflict in the,
Yeah.
For we don't allow overnight parking downtown. And we don't require off-street parking for lodging uses that are 10 or less units. Which means if someone doesn't provide off-street parking, their customers are gonna be parking on the street, where it's illegal to do between the hours of 2 and 7 all winter long. So clearly they can come up with some other answer for their own customers, even if we don't require it, they can still do it. Some of our businesses have done that, and some of them haven't, and we've had issues, so.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that would put the onus on them to decide, like, is it worth it to me to provide spaces for my customers or not? And if it isn't, then they won't. They'll do something else, but
It requires us to step in, take enforcement action, tow somebody's car.
yeah.
And that seems like a worse place to go to motivate a business to make a change in their operations than just to say up front, let's avoid that situation altogether. And I'm not a big proponent of parking requirements. I don't think that is the best way to use downtown space, just from a productivity thing, but I'm not sure we're being consistent
Hmm.
by saying you can't park downtown, but go ahead and let the market solve for this. I mean, where are they gonna park then? Highway 61, the neighborhoods, calendar parking, or we're just gonna count on business owners to come up with a.
Does that include the city lots around in the Coast Guard station, et
Yeah,
cetera?
they all have the same sort of rules. They're treated the same way because we don't,
Sure.
we need to plow them and
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
It's not a big deal in the summertime.
Right.
need.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, yeah, what happens, does the East Bay have enough parking on the back lot there? You know, because I know oftentimes cars are parked at the end of Wisconsin, but I
Yeah.
guess I don't know if I recall, like, looking down there in the evening to see if cars are parked down there.
Yeah, in the summertime, for sure, it's pretty common.
Yeah,
And for them to be parked in the senior center lot
yeah.
overnight.
Mhm.
In the wintertime, I guess I'm not, I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing of a lot of difficulty in snow removal in that area, so.
It's accommodating those guys.
I mean, they have, I'd say not as many spaces as they need to have one per room in just the lot that's next to their building, but then they also bought that other lot
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the alley that's
Yeah.
also parking for them. So they've increased the amount of parking they provide.
Is that, do you happen to know, is that enough? I mean, have they gotten to that one per unit?
I don't know.
Okay.
Count. He's got the closer we get here.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like we have to figure that piece out because, I mean, there's going to be more development downtown
Yeah.
with that, and I think that's where Tracy was wanting it
Yeah,
to be.
and I just hate, I mean, I'm just trying to find a good solution because we want to have the plowing be able to happen and we also want people to be able to have their business work.
Yeah.
And taking away space like that.
Are there, you know, is there a way to do it where there's certain hours of the day where parking isn't an option, or instead of just the entire overnight?
Yeah, I mean, it's still not, I mean, it's, what is it, 2 to 7, is that what we?
Yeah, and
just
it's really designed to meet the needs of our snow removal operation. They'll
Sure.
start at 2 sometimes.
Yeah.
If it's been snowing and there's a lot, they need to try to get it done. And it's our goal to get done before things start getting active downtown, because we can't really do what we do when people are driving around. We're piling up snow in intersections, we're pushing big piles around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe having that requirement is a proper answer, even if it isn't.
I mean, for them to provide off-street parking, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and, you know, if they can't do it right on their own lot, maybe they can work with somebody around the neighborhood, or maybe have them give a map to their people that are staying there, like, yep, you're staying in a funky place, so guess what? Parking is gonna be tricky.
Yeah, the East Bay has enough spaces, I think.
Okay.
I count about 30 between their two
Yeah,
lots off street.
it would seem odd for them to add and not be adding to a number. That's gonna.
Well, I mean, they just bought that space because it was available and added as many as they could.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Mayhew has another lot, this auxiliary space back here on this block, where I think they've probably got enough for one per unit as well. The ones that are single unit rentals, they all have options. I think they're typically providing a space.
Yeah.
Not sure if we actually have any right now that aren't,
Huh.
but there's a lot more people building, and, you know, bakeries putting in a unit where we did get off-street parking requirements because they want to do it residentially, but if they didn't want to,
They wouldn't have to.
we wouldn't have had a conversation with them at all. That's right. They could have
Right.
just gotten an administrative approval for that.
So you don't necessarily offhand think that there's a conflict right now with any existing, or we don't know for sure?
Well, I know that the market has tried to correct this issue, like these business owners have tried to find solutions for their customers. That doesn't mean that's the most convenient solution for their customers, so
Yeah.
We definitely have had cars downtown when we're trying to plow, and there
Mhm.
are probably people staying overnight somewhere.
Yeah.
You know. Well, I mean, that in some ways goes to, yeah, I mean, if it's, I guess there's only really maybe one that would be maybe impacted, but like the tavern even, right? I mean, there's a possibility that somebody would go there and they would not want to drive home.
Sure.
And of course, that's like, that would be the, you know, that would be the good decision.
That's the right choice.
The right choice.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And it would
I
be like,
can't
hey,
imagine that we're gonna ticket and tow somebody's car for making that choice.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's not our first inclination to go there and tow somebody's car. We'll
Yeah.
work around it if we can, but if it's there all the time.
right, yeah, I suppose that's the thing,
Yeah.
right, if it's up on blocks or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So maybe we could do that, is to add in the, what would it be? It would be lodging. So we would, I guess, what would we say, any lodging unit downtown? Or any lodging?
Could you change the language, say lodging in commercial district versus hotels in commercial district?
Although I think it's,
There's a few different places we'll have to
Yeah.
address it. So if you want us to make it so that it doesn't matter how many lodging units they're providing, they need to provide one space per unit, then we'll figure out how to write it that way. It's like, we got all these pieces included, just so you kind of see how the whole story is
Yeah.
told.
yeah, I think that would be good. People would know what they're
Mhm.
getting into, anybody who's building.
I think
new.
that's the part of it, right, the like future, like trying to not be reactive to it, but be a little bit proactive too.
Yeah.
Because it seems like from what we're talking about and where we're talking about, the existing properties that have taken care of it through some form or another, that just, for whatever else kind of moves along, that we do put that in there as a requirement. Because I do think,
Yeah.
like you say, right, like with the bakery, like they could have
Yeah,
not had to do that.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I think making it clear for people getting into it that that would be required is good. On
Yeah.
the front end, so they know, and then we don't have, well, we'll have potentially fewer problems then. And when we do get the occasional overnight, it's not gonna be a big deal.
Right.
We just plow around it. Well, so that's two things.
It's really kind of three, I feel like. So let me just
Three
list them
things?
back to you and make
Okay.
sure we're all on the same page. We can write one ordinance that the council can consider that requires one off-street parking space in the downtown area for any lodging use. That adds First Avenue East below Highway 61 to the list of downtown parking rules rather than not on the list. And then that adds no overnight parking to Highway 61 as well. And if we make those recommendations, then we can go out and seek input from the affected folks, particularly about the Highway 61
Yeah.
question. Not sure that the other ones are gonna be quite as contentious, but that one, I think, we certainly had a lot of mixed opinions about what rules to put in place the first time when we talked about calendar parking, so it'd be nice to check in again with folks on that. But the council will have two cracks at an ordinance where they can be getting input from folks before they have to make a decision, so it seems like they'll have time to do a good process with a specific idea and see where people are at.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, anything else, commissioners? All right,
I don't think so.
I guess we will
I can think of.
be adjourned.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.